Hey, it's Nolan, and today we're going to work on another rig. Today we're going to work on Jeep Grand Cherokee 1994 ZJ, and we're going to be working on the exhaust. I lost it last time I was off-roading. It's not stock, but now it has nothing, and it's just coming out straight out of the straight pipe. It's a little bit too loud to start up if you live near anybody. Give it a listen. It's pretty loud. So we got to do something about it. I like having fairly loud exhaust, something that's deep and rumbly, letting that 5.2 liter 318 show off what it's meant to do. I do like that exhaust sound, but not straight piped. It's too loud. It's going to wake people up, and I'm probably going to get pulled over. Let me start off by saying that this is not a pavement princess. This is a beater rig. It's used and it's abused for off-roading purposes. Lots of dents have been put in it. Hit lots of rocks. Smacked the diff with rocks too many times to count. And the last rock that I hit took out the exhaust. That's what happens. So, rather than going and spending lots of money to get it done properly, it's a beater rig. I know many of you will have something similar or don't have the money to get one built professionally, some fancy stainless exhaust. Understandable. Everything has a time and place, and that's not the time and place for this. What we're going to look at here is the underside of this ZJ. And you'll notice right there, it broke off. Basically, the exhaust setup I had was fairly temporary, and it routed too far down, even further down than the drive shaft, and it got smacked when I hit a rock. So what we're going to do is we're going to fab up a section. We're going to take some measurements first, and then we're going to figure out what we have and what we can do. Got my fancy little creeper here. So looking underneath, I'll just turn the flashlight on there. We got the existing piece of the exhaust coming right off the manifolds, just about 4 feet after that. We need to go, we're going to do a side exit. That's what I had before. I could go further, but I'd rather do a side exit. It's a little bit less complicated, and I think it looks cool. So one thing to be sure about is that you get the tip far enough out to the edge. If you have the tip tucked in too far inside the body of whatever vehicle you're going to put the exhaust on, exhaust vapors will build up underneath the vehicle. So when you're standing idling at a light or something, you got exhaust coming up, which could do two things that you don't want to do. One, you could have exhaust leaking into the cab, which is not so good for your health. And then you could also have exhaust sitting there, and under certain conditions, it's flammable. So you want it exiting, not melting anything, not poisoning yourself and your passengers. You want it kicking out, and then the people get to hear it even better. So we need 2 feet coming down off from right here. Just did the measurements, 2 feet, kicking out almost a 90-degree bend, just slightly less. Kicking it out here takes us about another 2 feet. So about 2 feet by 2 feet. Then we're going to take an angle slightly less than 90. I'm going to see what I have, and we'll come up with something. I've gone a little bit ahead, but I can explain. So this right here is the outer shell of a catalytic converter off of 2000 and something F250 van or something, or sorry, E250, not F250. I chose this piece because I'm going to use this as a resonator Much to the horror of local crackheads, I took out all the platinum or whatever that's inside here that's so valuable and didn't even turn it in. Didn't even make money off of it. I know all the homeless people, all the thieves, stealing cats in the local neighborhoods are rolling over in their graves knowing that I just wasted all that good material. Anyway, this could be used as a resonator, muffler. It's a resonator. Just to keep it a little bit quieter. It's going to add some more length, and it's not going to be too quiet or provide too much restriction, and it's a solid piece. There's no holes, there's no nothing. Chop the ends off. It's got this, which I like, nice hanger there, which I can use and I can implement into my build perfectly. So I took that. This is going to get welded directly up to the portion that was broken off. This is going to have a hanger that's going to be welded to the bottom of the body. Gone ahead here and made some cuts. Took a different piece, made a, as we can see, nearly 90-degree bend, which is perfect. I don't actually need as much as I thought on this end. I'm going to have to chop that off, maybe make a nice little tip. Who knows? Right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get these welded up because I've mocked it up. I've set it up. I know exactly what I'm doing. That's one thing you want to do before you weld. Tack. Tack is just a small weld. Tack it in place and then take the exhaust. I'm not going to do it because I'm too lazy, but basically mock it up. I've already done it, not doing it again, but you can kind of get the idea. That section is going to hook up right there. We got a nice bend here. This is going to get supported from the hanger. And then we got the end coming out right here. Another thing to be careful of is you either want this to kick out before the tire, outside of the tire, or you want it to be long enough or pointing in a different direction. If you have it pointing right there and it's nice and close, at the right speed, at the right engine load, at the right RPM, you could melt the tire in theory. I don't really know. I don't want to mess with it. I don't want to get anywhere in that tire, considering I'm probably going to bend this thing and beat it until it's almost useless. And then I'm going to make another one because that's how I roll. This right here is my welder. Just going to use MIG. You don't want to really use anything else unless you're going to be able to TIG weld the exhaust, which, considering the state of the exhaust, we're using stainless, welded to very, very old rusty steel. Doesn't look good. MIG all the way. Works for me. This is a fairly thick exhaust. But even still, if you're careful, if you know what you're doing, use the right settings, practice on other material, it's totally possible to do. And always remember to wear your welding helmet. No matter how irritating. No matter how irritating it is, you're supposed to use a welding helmet. Okay. This is not what we're going to use. These settings are not correct. What we're going to do is we're going to look and see what Miller says is the right amount. I could kind of guess, but I like to go off what they tell me and then adjust from there. We're talking about pretty thin stuff within the 14-18 gauge is what we want to use. I have 030, 030, and we go over here, 18 for 030, 16.3115. I'm actually going to probably go on the higher end just because I'm a little bit more experienced and I like to go a little bit hotter, and I think I can get away with it. You don't want to see that entire thing. That's what I'm starting at. We'll see how it does. She's getting there. That was actually a pretty good setting that I picked. Turned out pretty well. Here they are in all their glory. Nothing too pretty, but they're going to work. They're going to get the job done. That's what matters. I'm just going to grind them down a bit and make sure I didn't get any holes. Don't want no exhaust leaks, but the welds turned out fairly well, so I'm pretty confident. And a few holes and a little bit of grinding later. We have one solid piece with no leaks. So fancy. So fine. Next, I want to figure out what I'm going to do for this support bracket. And then I'm going to start mounting it up. Probably drill in the support bracket while that's kind of wedged in. Wire wheel this, wire wheel that side. Both sides, butt them up. And then the magic happens. All right. I got a little bracket made up to mount to the body. Just gonna use those holes right there. Might weld some nuts onto the body. No, that's not gonna make sense. I'm just gonna metal tap right through. Here's a little mock-up of the exhaust setup with way too much exhaust sticking out. I gotta trim that off once it's done. But for now, the important part is that it's getting there. All I have left to do is metal tap those screws. Bam, bam. Get that in. Then I'm going to weld that up. And maybe give some paint. Got some exhaust paint for it. Something to keep it from rusting. Paint that bracket. Chop this end off. Maybe put a fat 8-inch tip. Oh wait, it's not a Cummins. I'm not allowed to do that. But, you know, put some sort of tip on there. Make it look good. Should probably chop all this paint off. That would burn up anyway. And then we'll see how it sounds. That'll be the fun part. All right, let's show the progress that we've got going. So, got it all welded up. Not the prettiest thing ever, but checked over. I don't see any holes. Got that screwed up in there. So it's got some support. Still got some flex in it. Up further up. Now I just need to figure out what I'm going to do for the tip. But we got to hear how it sounds. Before we go any further, we got to make sure this is what we want. So let's hear how it sounds. So that's still pretty loud, but it's a lot better than it was. A lot smoother. And I think we're gonna go with that. If it was a daily driver, if it was something else, we would want something proper. We would buy a proper muffler. We would get it all situated perfectly. But for something that's quick and easy, nice little resonator in there, it's a bush rig. Something that's not gonna get us pulled over. This is perfect. So this is a job that I did in 3 or 4 hours. Not too bad. I'd like to say again that if this was a more permanent project, if this was something that I was more concerned about looking good or sounding perfect, then I would have spent more time, gone with a higher quality material, and designed it more intensely. This was pretty fast, quick, cut, easy. But if you just want something done with your exhaust It's not hard to get it done. If you just learn how to weld with a MIG, watch a few videos, find some exhaust pieces from an old junkyard, or you probably got a buddy who has some that he cut out because he straight piped his truck. Probably the first thing he did when he got it. You got all the material you need. And if you want to get yourself a specific muffler, they're not too expensive. Go buy yourself one. You just need to know a few things, and it's not that difficult. I will say one thing, if you can, and it makes sense, clamping is better than welding for the exhaust. But for something like this, I'm never going to take it off. It's going to come off when I knock it off on a rock going through the bush. So, it's perfect. Thank you very much for watching. If you like what you see, give me a like, give me a subscribe. Stick around for more. I'm posting more videos on some of the builds and repairs that I do. Hope you enjoyed, and if you didn't enjoy, it's your problem. Have a good one.